Hey everybody, how's it going? You're listening to Couch Co-op. This will be our second episode, so bear with us as we work through some of the kinks in the recording. Trying to add a little bit more format. So this week I will be your player one, be hosting the show, running through the conversation, everything like that. My co-host will be, my player two, Sean Pitts.
What's up, guys?
Sean, what happened this week?
Grand Theft Auto came out, Jack.
Did that happen while I was away?
Yeah,
Shit!
you were actually in Ireland when that game came out.
Yep.
And I bought it at midnight, and then I was sick from work for the next 2 days. I was
conveniently sick from work.
But you should know, all of you should know, I was legitimately sick. I actually was. I have a doctor's note.
I didn't say you weren't. I said conveniently.
It was very convenient. And then the guy at work that I work with took off the next 2 days after I came back.
Oh, all right. So he's just as guilty as you were.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least you're not the only slacker.
Yeah. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto came out, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I actually reviewed it today.
Yeah, I'm aware.
I gave it. This is kind of a review in progress. So without the multiplayer, which is coming about a week from now, I gave it an 8.9.
Wow, you're an asshole. Why? How do you not give the game at least a 9?
Because I just didn't think...
You didn't think the game was amazing?
No. If we're running by the IGN scale, with the words and everything involved, I did not think it was amazing. I thought it was so good that it was just short of amazing. And I think I'm more than positive that the multiplayer will not fuck it up. It will push it past very good. It will push it deep into the zone of amazing, maybe...
masterpiece.
Even a masterpiece.
I think the game justifies a 10. I agree with the IGN score. I agree with the Destructoid score. I agree with everybody that scored this game a 10. Actually, I don't know if Destructoid did. I forgot to check. But I agree with it. I think it could definitely be hailed as a 10. Especially if Grand Theft Auto 4 got a 10. This game is infinitely better than Grand Theft Auto 4.
Well, which is... I don't... Well, we're not going to get into Grand Theft Auto 4, but I don't think Grand Theft Auto 4 was a 10 either.
Yeah.
And I to be honest, it's my personal opinion. It's not, held to any rigorous or official scale. I just did not think that this game was a masterpiece. I thought it was really, really good. And again, I think with the multiplayer, if it is everything they promise that it will be, it could very well become a 10.
Yeah, I mean, that's fun. It's hard to review a game when half of it's missing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
giant chunk.
That's the thing, this game has legs. Like, you can play the single player for well over 50 hours.
Yeah, but you could also play 50 hours in 3 days, which is the problem. Which is what you and Fred both ran into.
Yeah.
You guys have both beaten the game.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not the only issue. It's the fact that this game has great replayability. Or more, not so much replayability, because replaying the missions themselves wouldn't be that much fun. The term I used in my review, and I think I'm going to keep it for future reviews for games like this, is longevity. It's got a lot of longevity to it. 50, 60 hours is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, it's a long game.
And then once you consider that the multiplayer is intended to be this really, almost a platform of its own.
Yes.
That could play like an MMO.
Well,
which almost
a 16-player MMO.
Well, I mean, it is what you make of it.
MMO light. I think it was a great game. I believe that the 10's a fair score for it. It really is incredible. If Last of Us didn't come out this year, this game would be my game of the year.
Well, okay, so we're hitting on a lot of topics that I wanted to save for their own discussion. So we'll try and take it piece by piece. Initially, I was, what have we been up to since the last episode?
Playing Grand Theft Auto is the answer.
I mean, playing Grand Theft Auto the past couple days. Before that, I was in Ireland for my brother's wedding, so there's been a drop-off in content since then, because I've just been really lazy about it after I got back, and, really absorbed in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, Jack's beaten Grand Theft Auto. He played for about 60 hours in 4 days.
Well, actually, I looked at the individual times for my played as, certain characters, because they don't give you a full thing. And, once you add up all my characters' things, it's about 50 hours.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So, that's good. I've played it for about 45 hours. So, We both have seen a lot of the game.
Yeah,
We've played most of the
Sean
heists.
hasn't finished it yet, so by necessity, we're going to keep this conversation spoiler.
Yeah, we don't spoil
Talking
stuff.
about broad topics and like what our impressions were as we played the game.
I think the heists are awesome. I think the first heist is so far. So I'm about 70% through the game, maybe a little bit more. And I think the first heist is still my favorite.
You're 70% through the story. Yeah. Because they separate it. They talk about like all the side missions you've done when you're considering the full percentage of the game that you've completed.
Yeah.
So we can, when I finished the game, the story mode, I was 70%, 77% of the way through the game. So you're about at 51%, which probably means you're somewhere close to the end.
Yeah. But
yeah.
So I still think so far from what I've played, I liked all the heists, but the first one was the most fun. Spoiler. There's no spoilers here.
Yeah, it gets it. I can tell you that it only gets better. Oh man, it gets better and better as you progress through the game, complete different heists, everything like that. But something about if it was just a game about heists, planning heists, setting up heists,
it would be
like
Payday 2.
Well, I mean, but it would have. I think on this scale, it would have been a better game. But there's a lot of like lower points where the game's not as exciting, and like the heists are the punctuation marks. They are the exclamation points on GTA.
Yeah, it's I agree. I really don't care for driving around towing cars.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are some points that
those are optional missions, but
how about something that's not like having to play Michael doing yoga?
Yeah, like
wasn't too big on that.
I would have played and had just as good of a time if I didn't have to do that.
Exactly.
So there are still, there's just filler. There's going to be filler in Grand Theft Auto games. It's unavoidable.
Yeah, and it's just
for a game this long, it's unavoidable.
It slows down the narrative, and it makes you're just like, if I have to do yoga, do I have to do every pose? Like, why is it such a long part? And that's just one example of some of the less exciting things they have to do. But, man, the heists are so cool that they just make... I gave the single player of the game a 9 out of 10. Because even with those low points, it's still so exciting. It's still so awesome.
Give it an 8.9 out of 10.
No. I gave the overall score of the game an 8.9. But the single player itself, I gave a 9. What dragged it down a tiny bit was the fact that, like... I don't know. I mean, I don't really care that much about collectibles. I know it's some people's thing, but it's not... It doesn't make a game better for me, having to run around and collect all these different things.
Yeah.
To like, quote unquote, complete the game. So that's one thing. And
the collectibles unlock different parts of the game, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, if you collect all the UFO parts, special stuff happens in the game.
That's cool. So maybe I'll get back to it.
It does make the game better.
That's a reason, I guess, to go back to it. But like, that brings up another point. Like, the game doesn't really tell you about a lot of the cool things that they put in there.
Yeah, it's great.
Which some of it's cool because it's like, oh man, it's like discovering all these different things. People tell you about stuff like exactly what just happened that you didn't know before, and it's exciting. But then it also, you can't appreciate certain aspects of the game because you didn't know about them. Like did you know? So there are 2 stock markets in the game that you can invest in. One is completely controlled by your actions in the game. So if you blow up trucks that belong to one company, its competitor's company's stock will go up. And if you're invested in the competitor's company, you get more money. The other stock market is completely controlled by other players' actions. So as everyone buys guns in Grand Theft Auto. As people buy guns in the second stock market, Ammunition, the gun store, its stock rises. I had no idea about that. I would have loved to have known that, but the game doesn't tell you.
Yeah, I know. Like, this is not defending it, but that's Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
that's just the way that is.
But like,
they're not going to tell you about every cool thing in the game because they want that, like, that moment of discovery when you find out something is cool is like, it's such a great moment.
I mean,
like the first time you get to Jetpack in San Andreas, like, come on, man, that's such a fucking epic moment.
But like, it just that kind of frustrates me because it's like these are things I would have liked to take advantage of. And instead of being really exciting and like learning about them, which would have been just as good, like just hearing about that in the beginning of the game, if they had explained that to you, I'd have been like, oh shit.
You're also talking about
this is like a brand new thing, a market within the single player that is affected by multiplayer, by like everyone else just going through the same stuff that you're going through. That would have been awesome to know. But like no one told me that. I was going online and I was like, what's a good way to make money? Which is another thing we'll get to. Like, it didn't affect the review score for me, but like it was just frustrating that I can't make more money without like like I've bought properties and stuff like that, and it's still taking forever to get money. But like as I'm trying to find ways to make money, it would have been great if I could have invested from the beginning and started building up that amass of wealth.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't know if Grand Theft Auto is going to sit there and hold your hand and tell you everything that it can do. You're looking at about 5 hours of tutorial time.
Yeah, but I mean, like they do have like lots of tutorials, and
Not
like
really.
Well, no, they do. They teach you how to they teach you how to drive with show the controls on like the corner, and like if you don't want to know those things, you ignore those things. Like their tutorials are all like 5-second blocks of text that appear in the top left corner of the screen
while you're driving.
Yeah, so which is like it's not the best way to teach a player about the game, and like we've seen games that have amazing tutorials.
Portal.
Like Portal, yeah, exactly. You knew I was going to go to Portal.
Yeah, well, because Portal does it better than anybody.
Portal
else.
2 is almost
tutorial.
entirely tutorial.
But you never know.
But yeah, you're just having a great time playing the entire time it's on.
Normal people.
So it can. What's that?
I don't like Portal, but fair enough. It's an exquisite game. It's just I hate puzzle games.
That's fine. I mean, I usually hate puzzle games. I didn't experience that the same way I experience other puzzle games. But like, I get what you're saying. But like, it is possible to have an amazing tutorial, and I just don't think Grand Theft Auto did it. And I would have appreciated it if they had told me about some of the things you can do in their game. Because like, if I don't know those things, if I was an average player, I could just walk away from this game and never have known about like half the things you could do.
Yeah, I mean,
because I played the story. I'm not all that big on collectibles. Like, that's not fun for me.
Yeah, I understand that. It's still a great game.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, this is all within the context of me giving the game an exceptional score, and still saying that I think the multiplayer is going to be amazing. It's going to just be better than any kind of multiplayer we've experienced so far, if what they're promising comes true. And I haven't seen Rockstar lie yet. So
LA Noire, but
I mean, I don't think that was like, what did they lie about?
It being good.
I thoroughly enjoyed LA Noire.
They lied about the facial thing working. All right, we're not going to get into LA Noire. I hated that game. I was such disappointed. How do I swim up?
You hold down on the thumbstick and it's like a plane,
Okay, sorry guys. We're trying to keep the talk about the thing I'm actually doing on screen to a minimum because this isn't a video podcast. But
yeah.
So I mean, like I said, very good game. I'm sorry for the coughing too, by the way, guys. I'm still very sick. I'm enjoying it a ton. Right now, I'm just doing side stuff, which is still like just so much fun.
So one thing we've talked about my review and everything like that. One thing I did want to talk about was our predictions for the online. Like, we've seen a lot of news come up about like how deep it's going to be, how big it's going to be. Do you really think they can deliver on that?
Yeah, because I played Grand Theft Auto 4 and it was exceptional multiplayer. It was the most underrated multiplayer of the year.
This is a different kind of multiplayer. This is there's team deathmatch and then there's like almost a second life experience. If you don't know Second Life, it's an online MMO. It doesn't have, as far as I know, it doesn't really have that much like fighting. I'm talking about my ass. I've literally never experienced.
It doesn't have any fighting. I've just watched a documentary on it.
I've never.
It's just
played
you live a life.
Yeah, you just live a second life.
The reason that I think that it will work is because Rockstar wouldn't have said it if it wasn't going to work. Because 50 million people are going to fucking buy this game. Yeah, and that would be well documented. That would be a real big flop. Like
I said, I don't expect that they're lying. I hope it's as fun as it sounds like.
So like just the deathmatch of Grand Theft Auto 4 was like so much fun. And like they had the same thing they're talking about in Grand Theft Auto 4, just on a smaller scale. I like that. I'm more interested to see if I can go from world to world, because like if I'm in Connor's world, or is Connor going to be in my world? Are we going to share a world? Can I go to like what if my friends have a world that what if I meet people that weren't on my friends list? Because that's how they fill the thing, is with your friends. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know these people. Then I met them. I'm like, man, I'd love to play Grand Theft Auto with them. I hope I could join their world. Do I lose all my stuff?
I don't know those are the things I'd like to see, fleshed out before I'm willing to say, like, this is definitely going to be one of the best online experiences I've ever had. Like, those are the questions that we need answered. And I just hope those answers are satisfactory.
Yeah, like I said, That's the only my only like worry. Other than that, I think it's gonna be a blast.
I'm sure it'll be fun, but I just hope it's like everything, because I like the MMO kind of experience, and I like the idea of having my own house and having a garage that I can fill with my own cars and running in a crew with my friends,
And
pulling off heists and stuff like that.
Building your own heists.
Exactly, building. That's the thing that oh my god, if they can allow you to design and execute your own heists.
Yeah, they can. That's the
Or download other people's heists.
That is 100% going to be in the game. The ability to download other people's heists.
But I mean, I hope it's on the scale of like Little Big Planet, where like people could make these exceptional levels.
I feel like if it works, it'll be way bigger than.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like if it works, it could be bigger than anything we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it's all ifs. It's all if it works.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. But that's, I mean, like, this could be the biggest online experience of the generation, and
Sure.
it's closing it out. And you're actually of the opinion that they might carry it into the next generation.
I think that they would carry Grand Theft Auto
at the very least the online.
Only the online. I don't think they will remake the game for the console.
I don't know if they have to. I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't port the single player.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. At least for like years.
No.
Like maybe next year we'll see something about that, but I don't think that that's going to happen yet.
Fair enough. So this, GTA getting a 10 from hundreds of sources is actually tied with its predecessor, GTA 4.
Most overrated game of all time.
It's tied with its predecessor, GTA 4.
Highest scoring game on Metacritic.
Yep, exactly. They're tied at 98.
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Grand Theft Auto 4 was not that good.
I don't even think Grand Theft Auto 5 was that good. But
yeah, only the multiplayer was great though.
Now, The Last of Us had a 95 on Metacritic.
That's ridiculous.
It wasn't even in the top 10. I don't even know if it was in the top 20. Now, and I mentioned this in my review, that literally rendered me speechless. I wasn't mad. I wasn't anything. I could barely process that information. Because in my mind, The Last of Us was, and we've talked about this, was
miles ahead
of GTA 5 and any other game I've ever played.
And I was super pumped for The Last of Us, and I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Yeah. And The Last of Us, to this day, The Last of Us is not my favorite game, but The Last of Us is by far the fucking best game I've ever played.
That's true, and it is my favorite game as well. And like that's the thing I wanted to talk about is like we, especially you, were super hyped for The Last of Us.
Yes.
So I'm not like I'm not playing GTA with expectations that are too high, and that's why it's disappointing me. Because I played The Last of Us with high expectations, and it blew my mind.
Yeah, that's
still blew my mind.
It's an amazing game. Yeah. If you haven't played The Last of Us and you own a PlayStation, like, what are you doing?
So
that
I
game
wanted to.
Is amazing.
I think the question's already been answered, but I wanted to talk about. First of all, what do you think Game of the Year deserves to be?
Last of Us takes a steaming dump on everything else that came out. Last of Us is like way better than BioShock, without a doubt. Like miles, just a way better experience than BioShock. And everybody's like, "Oh, the lighthouses," and shut the fuck up. If you have, the only people
if your argument for BioShock Infinite is lighthouses, you have no chance.
No, because people are like, "Oh, the story was so complex." The story barely made sense, and I've done a lot of research on the story because, just because, and I understood the story. Yeah. I just it was just ballsy.
Now I was
no spoilers.
Less down on BioShock than you were. We both thoroughly enjoyed the game. Yeah, we both thoroughly enjoyed BioShock Infinite. But yeah, I mean, for me, BioShock Infinite was a strong Game of the Year contender until I played The Last of Us. So, are you trying to fight a shark?
Yes.
I can't focus on what we're talking about while you're fighting a shark.
Keep talking. But yeah, BioShock was not as good as The Last of Us.
No,
without a doubt, it was not as good. The thing about BioShock is that from a mechanics standpoint, the game really didn't make much sense. And that was my biggest gripe with it. It was
didn't work with the narrative.
Yeah, it was okay, run to this room, kill this room full of cops that for some reason don't have superpowers that you picked up. And your argument could be like, oh man, I'm sure that superpowers are a lot of money, but they were giving them away for free at the county fair at the beginning of the goddamn game. So if they're going to give me, some dude that just caught up to Columbia, superpowers, they should give their cops the same powers, except for like 11 Raven people that are in the game.
And a couple firemen.
And a couple fire guys.
Yeah.
Though, like, if it's so readily available that you can give that power out for free at a fair, it would be different if I broke into something and stole it.
Yeah,
or if it was
secret lab.
Yeah, but no, they just give it to you for free at the beginning of the game. That's breaking, like, why would they not give the cops that? Why would they just let me mercilessly fucking murder hundreds of cops?
Before someone's like, hey, maybe we should drop it.
Yeah,
you know?
Wow, that dude's throwing fireballs at us. Wish I could do that. Well, you can, dick. I just found it on the ground. And not only did I found it like 4 or 5 times throughout the game.
Now, see, I think this is a common problem for people who played Bioshock, is that, like, at first I was like, oh, man, this game is, like, the game to beat for Game of the Year. And, like, I was, raving about it and everything like that.
Yeah, I know.
And then 2 weeks later, you come down off that Bioshock high, and you're like, wait a minute. There were a few problems with that game that I didn't consider until now.
Like I said, the story really did barely make sense. And it made sense, and, like, people will, like, be mad, but I have very strong opinions on games. I liked Bioshock. I played through the whole game. I beat it in a room full of my friends. Like, I beat the game. I thought it was a good game.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good game. If that game had gotten an 8.5, I would have been like, yep, dead on.
Yep.
Because it was good. It was not the best game, like, even up to that point, probably. I don't know what else came out, because, like, I just saw Last of Us and it was like, it's over. But, yeah, that game wasn't even better than Uncharted, like, 3.
See, the thing is, like, I mean, I might get some hate for this, but, like, unless it's from, a separate console generation, I'm going to keep my reviews actually kind of fluid. Because I gave Bioshock Infinite a very high score.
Yeah, you did.
And then
a perfect score.
And then I went back later and I changed it.
Can't review a game like that when you just played it.
Because I realized, like, man, there were some things that I didn't consider. And, like, I'm fine. I'm actually happy that I went back and changed it. Because I'm like, this more accurately reflects what this game is.
Yeah.
And I think I reviewed it. I think I ended up dropping it down to maybe a 9.
Which is still
something like that. Like, I don't remember the score exactly, but it was a little while ago.
My favorite part about that game is, like, Elizabeth is, like, well, actually, my actual favorite part of the game, without me being, like, a dick, is Elizabeth. I think she's a great character.
Yeah.
But her, like, when you play with Elizabeth, she's like, man, I don't understand why you gotta kill all these people. And she, like is like a whiny bitch about it. And then she's like, here's some ammo.
Yeah.
Like, if you really had that much of a fucking problem with it, you wouldn't be throwing me shoddy rounds every 10 seconds.
Again, it's like where the mechanics of the game don't really fit with the narrative.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the narrative made her an exceptional character.
Oh,
she was awesome as a character.
Yes,
But, like, the mechanics of playing the game with her as a companion didn't mesh. It just didn't work with the actual narrative.
You can nitpick. I mean, I'm nitpicking it.
Yeah.
And you can nitpick The Last of Us and say, well, Ellie just kind of walked around in front of people that I'm sneaking around. Yeah, that's broken. Yo, that is 100% broken. But that game is so good.
Also, I mean, like, they talked about that. That was a concern when that game was coming out, and, we talked about it. And the developers talked about it.
There's
really just no other way to make
There really is no other way to do
it. They couldn't have made that story, which was so amazing, without having that happen.
Yeah, because otherwise you're looking at, like, a Resident Evil 4 escort mission, where you're like, oh, go hide in a fucking dumpster. I'll call you when I need you.
Yeah, the entire game would either be an escort mission or, like,
You never feel like you're escorting Ellie. Ellie helps you.
Yeah.
She's got, like, nasty aim with bricks.
Yeah, and she's, like, got knives and
later on in the game, she gets, she gets a gun. But that's as far as we'll go.
Yeah.
No spoilers for The Last of Us either, but if you haven't beat that game, holy shit. That game's exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're an Xbox guy, I respect you. But, like, you gotta, find a friend who has a PlayStation and make them give you their PlayStation for, like, 3 days. And just go binge on The Last of
Yep,
Us.
I did that for my friend Artie.
Yeah.
My
I
friend
remember
Artie,
that.
who is one of the most die-hard gamers I know. And, like, I respect his opinion as much as I respect your opinion. If Artie tells me a game's good, I fucking buy it.
Mm-hmm.
He was, like, actually the reason I got XCOM. Swing and a miss. But,
I trust him beyond anything else.
all right, it's not
and
perfect.
he told me to get...
Well, because, like, all right, so 9 out of 10 times the dude's right. But, I gave him my PlayStation when we went to San Francisco for Beyond. And I was like, you have to play this game. It's important. And he didn't own a PlayStation. He was like, all right. And I just gave him my PlayStation for a week.
I love how that's the best way to sell The Last of Us. You have to play this game. It's important.
It's important that you play
that
game.
you
If
play
you like video
The Last of
games,
Us,
or
yeah.
you like narrative, or you like feelings, like, or like anything. If you like
feelings,
if you like really great stories, I mean, goddamn, Naughty Dog really does.
I mean, I'm just like, and this isn't a Last of Us podcast at all. It was supposed to be specifically just pertaining to GTA 5, but like, everyone wants to put,
everyone wants to call this game
wants
Game
to
of the
call
Year.
this game Game of the Year already.
It's
and
not.
They gave it like a lot of sources gave it quote unquote perfect score. The highest score you can get. And that's putting it on the same level as The Last of Us in my book, and I don't believe it's there.
And that's the thing too. Like, this is the best time for me to like GTA because I'm actually sitting here playing it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be way different if I was playing The Last of Us right now for the first time ever and telling you The Last of Us was amazing. But I'm not. I haven't played The Last of Us.
This is when GTA has you in its grits.
Yeah,
this is a week after its release.
The only thing that I could think about when I play this game, I'm like, this game's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And I asked Greg Miller, IGN, I think his title is, he's editor of Mega Franchises. He used to be the PlayStation guy, if you don't know Greg Miller.
Pretty sure, I don't know. I thought it was executive.
He's important.
Something editor, yeah.
Chicken Wings fan, big fan of video games.
Yeah.
I respect him very much. I asked him.
He's going to like murder us for not knowing his title.
Yeah, I asked him, Greg, like, did you like The Last of Us better than Grand Theft Auto? And he kind of like, he answered the question, but he was kind of like, did anybody really enjoy The Last of Us? Like, it was kind of a sad story sometimes. At points of the story, it gets kind of sad.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah. He said that he's having more like all around like just random fun with Grand Theft Auto.
Oh yeah.
But he thinks that The Last of Us is Game of the Year.
Well,
as of the time that I asked him that question. So if he changes his vote, that's fine. But as of today, which is September 23rd,
check the phone for that one.
September 23rd, he said The Last of Us was his Game of the Year. Now, back to Grand Theft Auto. Sorry. It's just important that you guys know that, like, I love video
We're
games.
not the only ones, yeah.
This is the best time for Grand Theft Auto to pull the head of The Last of Us. I haven't played The Last of Us in 4 months. I haven't played The Last of Us since I beat it.
And it hasn't gotten, like I talked about, there wasn't that, like with Bioshock Infinite, there was that period where after which I was just like, nope.
That period never went away from me.
Yeah, I never thought any less of The Last of Us.
I told you, I beat the game first out of anybody that I know. Yeah. I beat the game about 18 hours, 19 hours after it was released. I played that game a lot. I played that game a lot, and I told you that I'm not trying to hype the game up, and I know that this could be because I just beat it. But you asked me what I thought about the game, and I said, that's the best game I've ever played.
Yeah.
And here I am 4 months later, playing everybody else's best game, and fucking Last of Us is still the best game I've ever played. Like, movies have never made me experience that.
And it's goddamn shame. I mean, like, people will not play The Last of Us because they don't own a PlayStation 3, or because they just, it was big for like a week, everyone was talking about it, and now no one's talking about it.
It sold well.
Yeah,
and,
but I mean,
it'll get a sequel, but just because...
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, it's the most
world.
I think it's the most successful Sony franchise in quite some time.
Yeah, since Uncharted 3.
Probably,
I think it did better numbers than Uncharted 2.
I would, better numbers than, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, and like, but, The Last of Us did not make $1 billion in 3 days.
Nothing's ever made $1 billion in 3 days. To put it into perspective.
Grand Theft Auto.
Except for Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing in entertainment to do that. Suck it, Avengers. Video games did it first.
Yeah, there we go. It's like all the validation our medium needs.
Yeah, you don't think that video games are important? They spent $265 million on this game.
Million.
Yeah. They spent $265 million on this game, and they made that shit back in pre-orders.
Yeah. That's the craziest thing. And like, in an industry where games would be happy to sell 2 million copies, 3 million
I
copies.
told you before this came.
Tomb Raider was upset that they sold
3.
5 million.
Oh yeah, 5. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, 5 million wasn't enough. GTA 5, literally, like it couldn't have blown them any more out of the water.
Oh, it blew everything out of the water.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I'm glad to see that it's like Grand Theft Auto didn't.
And the crazy thing is, like, I was talking to people at work. One of my friends, Michael. He's a slightly older guy, and he's not at all into video games. But I started talking about a game that made made $1 billion in 3 days, switching the numbers around, and he immediately knew I was talking about Grand Theft Auto.
Well, because what else would it be?
Exactly, and
oh my God, I gotta miss the
it's
target.
being talked about everywhere. It's it's being picked up by news stations. Apparently, some people try to dress up as cops to steal copies of it. Like, it's a big deal.
My friend Seiji bought a PlayStation. He texted me. He was like, "Should I buy a PlayStation for Grand Theft Auto?" And I was like, "No, you should buy a PlayStation for The Last of Us." But, sorry, I always bring it back.
If it's got to be one.
But if I was like, it's a goddamn good reason to buy it. And then I'm loaning him my copy of The Last of Us because it's more important than Grand Theft Auto. He bought the Grand Theft Auto PlayStation though, so good job, Sony.
Yeah,
I can't believe people are still buying PlayStation. You know what? It's good for him though, because he's also going to play Gran Turismo and stuff like that. So
I have another friend at work, Mitch, who did the same thing. He bought a PlayStation. He wanted to own a PlayStation, but he did buy the GTA bundle because that was a game he was very excited about.
It's a game that speaks to such a large audience. It's really because like you ask everybody and everybody's played Grand Theft Auto.
Which is something that I almost find hard to understand because I'm like, I guess I can see how it would appeal to a larger audience than The Last of Us. The Last of Us is very depressing. And at the same time, it's very much a gamer's game. Like, you might not be able to appreciate and understand the magnitude of such an incredible narrative if you haven't played other video games. But, like, this is a violent story. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a violent story about violent people doing bad things. Like, I would not expect it to have as much mass appeal as it does.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Is like I don't know, because everybody has good memories of Grand Theft Auto, dude. I played Grand Theft Auto 3. It was the first M game besides Metal Gear. Played the shit out of Metal Gear. It was like the first real big violent game I was allowed to play. And it was like a big deal, and it was awesome. But like, I don't know, man. Like I said, I grew out of it, Grand Theft Auto almost, because like I was like kind of done with them by the time San Andreas came out. Played Grand Theft Auto 4. I thought that game wasn't that good. It was like good, but it wasn't great. And I always get burnt out on Grand Theft Autos. Like, I don't know. It's hard to hold my attention for 40 hours, 50 hours. This one's doing it seemingly well. I mean, I have to beat it to stay relevant anyway in conversation.
I mean, like, that's something I talked about in the review. It's like, I've never really played a Grand Theft Auto game to completion. Partially because I didn't own the consoles to play the more recent ones. And then... or the less recent ones. And then with Grand Theft Auto 4, I was playing it on PC, and other games were coming out. I got distracted. It wasn't the game I wanted to play when I had it.
Yeah.
And I will probably never go back to it.
No, I can't imagine.
Yeah, not now.
I could never go back to it.
Yeah, especially after playing 5. And I enjoyed there were those Grand Theft Auto moments where I was less involved. Where I was really just going through the motions, and like I was starting to get tired of it,
Mm-hmm.
But then a big exciting mission happened, one of those movie moments in the game, and I was back in it. Those, like I said before, those high points of the game are something special.
Yeah, it's like Drake jumping out of the fucking plane.
Exactly.
It's but they happen every couple of hours instead of twice in a game.
Yeah.
I still don't think that's the coolest part of that game, but I don't want to ruin the coolest part of Uncharted 3. If you haven't played Uncharted 3, there's a fucking really epic scene involving a boat.
You're missing things. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, there were those moments where I was kind of done. And when there are such incredible stories to be experienced and, like, incredible games to play coming out, once a month, I'm not willing to spend a ton of time collecting things or just messing around. And there is a time and place for that. I've enjoyed my time going on a killing spree and running from the cops. God, don't take that out of context. In Grand Theft Auto, but like I can only do that so many times. I can only do that for an hour or so before I'm like, well, done with that. Time to go play a new story, a new narrative.
Yeah, I'm like, we're both very big narrative, like based guys. Like that's what I play video games for.
Same
It's
reason.
cool-ass
Same reason I'm
stories.
not all that into sports games. Like I'll play sports games for like, maybe half a week. I'll be interested in them because I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And then I start seeing, I'm playing the same team or I'm running the same plays all the time. Whatever it is, it becomes repetitive, and I don't really do repetitive. It's why I burn out on MMOs so quickly, because like eventually everything starts to feel very much the same.
Yeah, and I have a very short attention span. I enjoy multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not playing multiplayer games, I get bored
Because
I like to beat people at stuff.
Yeah, and you like it because you find yourself facing different people every time.
Yes.
And like that's always a different experience for you.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, Grand Theft Auto 5, great, really good. Doesn't hold a candle. Doesn't hold a candle.
And which is also kind of why I didn't want to give it a 10, because like I don't think it deserves to be on.
I think the multiplayer will push it to a 10.
Yes,
but the Last of Us was a 10 before
definitely
the multiplayer.
do, because the multiplayer is gonna differentiate it from every other game on the market. But as of right now, I don't know if it does enough to make it a masterpiece.
Can the multiplayer be so good that it jumps in front for Game of the Year, in your eyes? Is there anything the multiplayer can do that is so good that it pushes it past The Last of Us? Because for me, the answer is no.
I can't answer that question. And I never... If you had asked me a week after I played The Last of Us, I would have said absolutely not. But I'm a goddamn sucker, Sean, for MMO-style games. I always play them,
and then you burn out on them.
I burn out on them, but I always play them and I always love them.
But it'll be different because you'll be playing with me this time.
Yeah,
I don't do MMOs.
I'll be playing with some awesome friends, and I'll be doing some awesome things if they let me.
Yeah.
So that's, it could, but it would have to be incredible. It would have to be
mind-numbing.
Literally mind-numbing, because that's what The Last of Us was to me. And
the multiplayer of The Last of Us, by the way, amazing.
Yeah, also really great.
Underrated.
I mean, I was about to say nothing too special, but it really was actually.
It was the best multiplayer game on PlayStation.
Yeah, definitely the best multiplayer game on PlayStation. I think the best multiplayer game I've played. And they just added that new mode, which is very good as well.
Yep. But yeah, like I said,
The Last of Us just keeps getting better and better in my eyes.
Like I said, I agree with 10. I think I don't remember who reviewed it for IGN, gave it a 10, and we're
Keza,
we're IGN fans here. Like I trust their reviewers. Just I agree.
I mean,
but it's just
that's the thing.
There are different 10s.
Yeah. I'd like to make that point. I mean, like I can see how someone would call that a 10. But that's why I also said, like, this is a personal review. Because it wasn't a 10 for me.
And another thing that, like, people don't really realize is about, like, I've played 10s. Like, I've played every 10 that's come out in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I've played every game that's scored above a 7 in the last at least 2 years. I've played almost every game that's scored above a 7.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I mean, I play great games all the time. Like, there's a lot of people who miss out on Uncharted. They miss out on Last of Us. They miss out on, other incredible games. And there are Xbox games. There are Xbox games in there too. I'm really sounding Sony.
Yeah,
hard.
Sony. Yeah.
It's not my fault they have good exclusives.
They really do.
But
the best.
Yeah. Well, that's really no competition. Microsoft even compete. But I've played Gears of War Judgment, got a 9.4 or something like that. I played that. I played Halo 4. I've played all the highly rated games. I play them all the time. I play great games. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And, so like for somebody who doesn't play those great games all the time and they get a game like this, it's like, holy fuck. They've never played a game this good before. I've played games that are this good before. So like, when my friends are like, the Grand Theft Auto is the best game I've ever played, I'm like, that's great. You need to play more games, but that's great.
Yeah. And like that's what I was saying. Like I can understand how someone would call this a 10. In a different world, if I was a slightly different gamer, I might call this a 10,
Yeah.
But who I am as a gamer, who I am, today after playing The Last of Us, after playing BioShock Infinite, which I guess I would consider not as good as this. I think Grand Theft Auto
is better than.
Yeah, I think Grand Theft Auto is better than that. But like playing other games that have been put on this level or close to this level, makes me really have to consider whether or not I think this is a 10, and I don't believe that it is.
Yeah.
So
A lot of mad GTA fans.
Yeah, we've pretty much beaten this one to death. But I think it's clear that both of us still think that The Last of Us is the game of the year for us.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other part of the question was, what game do you think will get game of the year?
Grand Theft Auto.
You think so?
Absolutely.
I would be really disappointed.
It will. No, it will. I don't. If Last of Us wins game of the year, it'll be a fucking miracle. It also depends who are you talking about. Let's just say, for argument's sake, IGN.
If we're talking about IGN, I actually think The Last of Us has
no
a really
chance.
awesome shot.
Nope.
I think it has a good shot.
I already know
because there are some massive advocates of The Last of Us.
Is Tomb Raider's in this year, right?
Yeah.
So that's Naomi. That's Naomi's
God, it's
vote.
been a long year.
Yeah, that's Naomi's vote. Greg's is Last of Us. Colin's will probably be Last of Us.
Yeah.
Goldfarb's is Bioshock.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like a shitload of Bioshock. I was reading an article about them the other day.
Yeah.
And like that was before Grand Theft Auto came out, and they still weren't winning. So like Bioshock was getting it over The Last of Us. So like I don't know. I don't think that. I definitely don't think that.
Man, if we're looking at IGN, I guess I have no idea, but like, I mean, in terms of game of the year, is the more abstract.
My game of the year will be Last of Us.
My game of the year will be Last of Us, but like at the end of the day, if we're talking about game of the year, like what game received the most
universal praise,
critical acclaim among both the players and the critics? I'm afraid it will be Grand Theft Auto, and like, you know what, that's a good choice. And again, I think
it's actually probably good for the industry.
I can see how people might choose that, but I would much prefer if it was The Last of Us, because I think The Last of Us getting a 10 or getting Game of the Year is much better for the industry than Grand Theft Auto getting Game of the Year.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know,
because man. It's like it comes down to Game of the Year. What do I want to see even more of next year?
And the thing is, like, the VGAs is, like, so mainstream, not to sound like a hipster, but it's like...
hipster.
Yeah, the VGA, that's a great conversation in Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
VGAs, it's going to go with GTA. VGAs is probably
I know.
GTA.
It's just, like, it so frustrates me so much, because I can see how you would say that. I know you guys can't see me right now, but I'm waving my arms around because I'm so frustrated. I can see how you could think that, but... Oh, God, play The Last of Us and tell me that's not the best game you've ever played.
But, yeah, it's frustrating, but open world games also have a unique advantage in the Game of the Year candidate race.
What is that?
Because people really fucking like open world games. I think Red Dead took Game of the Year. I think, I know Skyrim took Game of the Year. And, yes. I'm like 99% that year was Skyrim. I know Journey took Game of the Year.
That was 2012. Journey was 2012. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Skyrim was 11.
11 was a big year for games, and 12 was a big year for like indie
games.
Yeah. So I always get those years mixed up. Also, that was like before I was like deeply in really deep into this whole like gaming conversation. Like games were something I did as a hobby, not as something I wanted to do with like for my life.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's like frustrating, but I definitely think that it's not bad for the industry if this is if this wins Game of the Year, because it'll bring even more publicity to it. They'll be like, oh, the most successful game of all time. It already is the most successful. It took a big shit on Call of Duty. I'm glad, because I fucking hate Call of Duty, man.
Yeah, I was never really on the Call of Duty
successful
train. I played Black Ops #1, and I was like, it's good, but not. It wasn't for me. But like, I don't know. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is just incredible. It's a really, really, really good game, and I think the multiplayer is just going to push it to the next level. But when I think about what I want games to be in the future, and which game I would like to represent this industry, it's not Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
And Grand Theft Auto is a close second, but like, oh man.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, like I would love it if video games were known for these powerful narratives and these, epic moments in a game like that. But there's too much else going on in Grand Theft Auto that like I would rather not. I think they. I'm having a hard time avoiding spoilers. There are moments in Grand Theft Auto that
They put it in
are
for
a
shock
little
value.
yeah they put it in for shock value. It's there's some moments that are I think a little immature. That like I think they belong in the game because these characters are kind of immature sometimes. They don't always act like adults. They're living out the fantasy of being professional criminals.
Yeah.
So all of that has a place in the game, but like, is that what I want people to think about when they think of video games? And I'm sorry, it's just not.
Yeah, I definitely. I think we've said it enough.
Yeah,
It's a great game.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. So I mean that pretty much takes care of everything that I wanted to talk about this week. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to mention?
Play Terraria. Other than that,
Did we still not get to talk about that?
Never got to talk about Terraria. But we'll do that on another podcast.
Oh my god, we're gonna push it to another week.
Yeah, well, because it's already going long. But yeah, definitely. Play Terraria. Play Grand Theft Auto. They're fucking great games. We're not whining. We love Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I mean, this is like everyone 2011, amazing year for games.
This is by far the best year of games.
Yeah, 2012,
ever.
Incredible year for games. Man, 2013, the very end of this console generation, you're coming out with some of the biggest and best games that have ever existed in all of gaming history. And then you're going to toss another console cycle on top of it, and we're going to start seeing some new things this year and next year, and it's just going to get better and better. Like, I am so excited for the future of games, and I hope you guys are as well.
I'm always excited for the future of games.
I mean, there have been times in gaming history where it was
5.
a little bleak, and I'm just glad we made it this far.
It's crazy to think where it came from.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. There's a picture on the internet right now called, like, Started from the Bottom, Now We're Here, and it's, like, a picture of Grand Theft Auto 1 and Grand Theft Auto 5. And it's, like, that game went from being, like, nothing to being, like, I mean, huge.
Now, I know you work on this website with me. I work in quotation marks because it's more of a labor of love than anything else. But you've been busy today. Did you get a chance to see what the title for my review was?
No.
Is Grand Theft Auto 5 the latest entry in the video game franchise of video game franchises?
Well, yeah.
Grand Theft Auto is the video game franchise.
The beautiful thing about Rockstar is there's just a bunch of gangsters over there, dude. They're like, you know what? Let's wait 4 years. And let's just wait.
They had everyone in Rockstar. It seems like they had a hand in this because Rockstar North was the primary developer, but you look on the list of
they brought the Ace
secondary people involved in this, and it's like Rockstar New York, Rockstar they hit like from a studio from almost every country that is involved in making games.
Just a bunch of gangsters over there.
Yeah,
they do it right. Like, them and Naughty Dog, dude, I love... Anytime Rockstar puts something out, like, Manhunt was a great game. Fucking... Well, State of Emergency wasn't that good, but... Grand Theft Auto 3 was great. All the Grand Theft Auto games were great. Red Dead was fucking amazing. Red Dead was the biggest surprise for me. I didn't think Red Dead was going to be as good as it was.
I didn't really love Red Dead that much, but that's, a conversation for another day.
Yeah. So, like, Rockstar does it right. They don't Call of Duty it. They don't Guitar Hero it.
Yeah, I mean
I'm pretty much saying they don't Activision it, and they don't make it a fucking... it's as big as it is because it's not out every year. It's like a spectacle when Grand Theft Auto comes out.
Exactly. And I think they're AAA games from AAA developers. I think we need a new level.
Yeah, there really should be.
You just call it, S or something like they have in all those grading systems.
They're like the diamonds. Like these guys are the guys that fucking just
it's not. It's like I can think of a few. I mean, it's Naughty Dog and it's Rockstar. And I think that's it. I mean,
I don't know who else is pushing out 10s like that. So
certainly no one else is pushing out 10s. But are there other studios that are pushing out just crazy stuff? I mean, I'd like to see what the guys behind Unfinished Swan and the guys behind Journey are doing next. But they're still a little unproven. They're still new. Naughty Dog and Rockstar, they're doing it right, and they've been doing it for a while.
That's the difference. Yeah. They're not just doing it right. They've been doing it right for a long fucking time.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we need a new level of classification.
No, they'll just be the billionaires.
Yeah.
That's just, well, unfortunately, Naughty Dog's not rocking around with a bunch of billionaires, but you know what? Like, I think 2K does really great stuff too. No,
2K does
Irrational,
Irrational. Yeah, I mean those are the guys behind Bioshock.
and they make great games. Bioshock 1, 10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, 100 times over.
Yeah. Bioshock 2 it wasn't Irrational. So I mean
Kevin Levine had nothing to do with
that. Doesn't count. We don't really talk about that. Bioshock Infinite, I thought it was great. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really, really, really good. So they might be on that level, but think about the games they've made. It's like just the Bioshocks. That sounds ridiculous. Like that sentence sounds ridiculous. It's just the Bioshocks, but at the same time, it's not Naughty Dog pushing out different franchises, different tens left and right.
Yeah,
and it's not Rockstar. With the pedigree they have. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I there definitely is just those two guys, those two teams, just they figured it out.
Right now, I mean, can you imagine if a couple years from now when you have more games from Irrational, maybe not Bioshock games, maybe like the next huge thing.
I'm always I would always prefer a new IP over anything else.
Can you imagine? So like Irrational has made other games, but Bioshock was the first one that really put them on the map. And in the same way that Naughty Dog made other games, but then Uncharted broke the scale. Can you imagine when Irrational starts putting out some new stuff, some even better stuff than Bioshocks?
Yeah, it's always I can't wait to see. The only thing that like I said, the only thing that worries me about Bioshock is it's like a thing for them to have a twist. That's like a thing for them. And the first twist was whew, holy shit. That game came out years ago, and that's still an amazing story.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like they tried too hard with the twist in this one. And I don't. You just make a great game.
Yeah.
Guess what? I don't care about the twist. Just make a great game. I'll play it. I promise. Yeah. I promise you, Irrational. If you make a great game, I'll play it. It's what I do.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm so excited for the future. I'm so excited for when they are making maybe a different game. And to think that there are studios out there with the capabilities to make a Bioshock, and a different studio out there with the capability to make The Last of Us, and a different studio out there to make Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah. You have all these studios making these incredible games, and they're just getting started.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto isn't. But...
Well, I mean, but this is the best Grand Theft Auto game I've ever played. If they can keep this, if they can keep this pace going, the next Grand Theft Auto 6, when it comes out 10 years from now, is going to be 30. Just unbelievable. It's gonna blow my mind with things that I don't even know that I want. Sean, what do I want? I don't even know that I want these things, but I want them now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just they're very good games.
All right, so we've been trying to wrap this up for about 10 minutes now, so it's time to put this one to bed. Save some of the conversations for the next time. But yeah, you gotta get out there and you gotta play those good games. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Seriously, play The Last of Us.
Play The Last of Us. Play Grand Theft Auto. After you play The Last of Us.
I want to hear everybody's opinion too. If you've played The Last of Us and you think I'm crazy, just tell me I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter.
I think he's crazy all the time. I mean, I agree with him on this point, but
I'm NJ Sean Pitts, SEANPITTS.
I am Limiting Panda. Feel free to tweet at me. Feel free to email us at thecouchcoop at gmail.com. Comment on the post for this podcast. Let us know what you think. Please, nothing means more to us than knowing that people are listening and people are having a conversation about the things we're having a conversation about.
Hi, Connor. Shout out to Connor.
Shout out to Connor, who is one of the first couple people to tell me they were listening to this. Shout out to Brian Gentoso for saying he was into it. Thank you, anyone who listens to this long podcast. I'm sure we're going to have to cut it down a little bit, but we'll try and keep the good bits in there for you guys. So this has been Couch Co-op Episode 2. A little bit longer than we intended, but you know what? Grand Theft Auto is a big deal, so it deserves a big podcast.
Yep.
And we got a little game of the year conversation in there, so it's special.
It's important.
Yeah, it's a big deal, especially
Game of the Year's a big deal to us.
And I don't think we're done yet. I mean, I think Beyond Two Souls is still coming out soon.
Yep, Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs
will not be better than Last of Us.
But it might be better than Grand Theft Auto 5. So we'll see what's going on. But we'll be having conversations about those when those come out. But thank you for Thank you for lasting this long enough to hear this part. Um, hopefully we'll be back to you guys within a week, 2 weeks. We record whenever we can. Sometimes things go wrong. We had to scrap about 45 minutes of work the other night because there was a loud ringing in the background. We're not tech geniuses, unfortunately. Hey, if anyone is, let me know what I can do to make this even better. Or even if it's not about audio, let us know what we can do to make this better for you guys. I'd be more than happy to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that about does it. I am Jack of Couch Co-op,
I'm
your
Sean.
player 1 for this conversation. You've been listening to Sean along with me, my player 2.
Geronimo.
Uh,
Doctor Who references.
have a good night, guys.